Okay, so from the last part that I was talking about, Jay, that's just his nickname, the catfisher that I was, we actually were in a relationship for 18 months. Can you believe it? And this is after the time I found out that he was a catfisher. And we kind of never really ever talked about it. He said to me, look, he was very poetic and romantic the way he spoke. And he said, look, you can read me like an open book now. You know everything about me. And it was almost like he didn't say what he did, but he knew that I knew, and I knew that he knew, but I never said anything. I just said, look, what you're doing, I said, is not really right. And he said, but how is it not right when, whatever I get, I give to, my family and poor people, kind of like that connotation. I said, yeah, but it doesn't make it right. And I said, do you know what I mean? It's still somebody else's belongings. And he listened to that. And then anyway, so let's just look at it like this. So every 6 weeks, for 6 weeks, we would have a ball. Like, it was great. We could just stay on the phone for about 3 hours, maybe twice a week. And, he would tell me about Africa and his family. Like, he's had a grandmother that was 110 years old, and she still is. And just like the languages, he spoke about 20 languages, Nigerian languages, and from the tribe. And then he was telling me, like, there is a lot of marijuana smoking over there. Unfortunately, they do a lot of that, and they look at it like it's no big deal. But I can really understand it. They don't, like, the government there is so corrupt. And he cried once about the government, like they don't have a chance to just live life and try and get ahead somehow. They just don't have that chance that we have. So I would probably have done the same thing if I was him. Honestly, that's how I started to think. I could have probably done the same thing. And I really did understand him, and I think that's actually what helped him. He just, like, started to develop into this person that started to speak more and tell his story like he had never trusted anyone before. And you could tell, like, I don't know, I just love being in his space. He had this calming nature, the way he spoke, and he was very gentle, and he had really good values. It's really crazy to think that he had scammed. I'm pretty sure he had, although he'd never told me officially, other people, women. But he had this, the moral, the values he had were just, he was a one woman man, right? And he just wanted the one person in his life. But at the same time, then he said to me he'd gone to, because, we would just catch up through the week talking and that. And he said to me, like, I went to a wedding, and I said, oh, okay, how was it? And he said, yeah, my friends were there that I hadn't seen in a long time. And then he said, we had some crack. And I said, what? And I go, hey, I said, if you're going to be having things like that, I said, I don't want anything to do with you. I said, this is just, I've gone too far. I am not going to be. One thing, he was the scammer with his fake ID, and now I'm like, I'm in a relationship with a person that has crack. And I went, what the hell are you doing? And then he said, oh, no. And he said, look, I thought, he goes, I don't, I haven't done it in a long time. And I said, no. And I said, okay, the occasional, going to have some marijuana, but that is just way out of what I don't want to be involved in anything like that. And he actually said, I promise you I won't do anything like that. again. And I go, wow. I said, that's great. And I said, thank you for saying that. And I really believed him, and you could tell that he hadn't gone down that path. And he even, like, we were discussing Tolle's book. He read it. He was just so into all that sort of stuff, and we'd share knowledge and experiences, and meditations, and all that sort of stuff. And he would talk about travel. He was really interested in traveling, and this is like in the middle of COVID. So kind of like that was kind of like my savior, because honestly, if I had have met him, I don't know what would have happened. Just because of just slightly weird behavior that was displayed. Like every few weeks, what would happen is he would get paranoid. And it was the craziest thing, because I mean, we'd never met. We were like so far, 17,000 miles away from each other. And he would just call me and say something like, who is with you? I want to see in the room. Do you have someone with you? And I was like, no, I don't. I mean, like, why would I be doing that? And he would just get very paranoid. And I knew at those times that he'd probably been smoking. And I'd said to him, I go, do you know that, marijuana, some people can cause paranoia, but it didn't click, because see, in Nigeria, they don't think like that. Like, I've researched it. They smoke a lot over there. They're very depressed. They've got nothing to do. There's no work, and they do a lot of that stuff. So this was like on a constant. It was like every 6 weeks, he would just, maybe like one time he sent me a message saying, oh, you're spending a lot of time on WhatsApp. Who are you talking to? And I was like, well, I just talk to other people. I said, but, and I said, but you're kind of like the intimate one, and he'd really tried. Like, he would say things like, okay, I'm just not even going to go there. I do trust you. And then it would happen again, and it seemed to be just like spiraling. And I was just trying to keep him up there, but it was very hard, because it wasn't just the smoking. I think it was also, it was just like he'd lost, he didn't feel worthy. He believed me, he was trying. He even said to me, he goes, I'm really trying. And, a couple of times he said, I haven't even had marijuana for about, 3 weeks, and I feel amazing. And it was so nice to hear that. I felt like, wow, look what I'm really helping someone, like, becomes better. And then he said to me, I've really got to get out of this country, because it's just hopeless being here. And, and I said, okay, make plans, let's work on this. And we had started to, together online, we were just looking at how, which places he could go to. And he was talking about perhaps going to, what was it? Like Spain, or then we started to talk about, well, hang on, he was like, would you meet me there? And I said, oh, that's a little bit far from me. And then he was thinking of Thailand. And we actually were looking at the visas, but it was just so difficult with COVID, honest. And then it was getting to a point where it was really close to doing it, the Thailand visa. And I thought, wow, this is really going to happen. I can't believe it. It's really going to happen. He's going to go to Thailand. Chiang Mai we were looking at, because he wanted to go to the Buddhist temples. And, he loved all that sort of stuff. And so do I. And I always felt like, wow, there's this connection that I have with him. And honestly, I think it is past life, because how could it not be? 18 months just online with someone, and feeling so comfortable, and just loving the time that I had, with him when we were talking, and just even just sitting. Sometimes we would just sit there and just look at each other. I mean, just look at each other, into each other's eyes. It was the weirdest thing. And this was this guy that had this fake identity, and I'd turned around and forgiven him, and I never thought that it would get this far. So we got as far as the visa thing, right? And I'll tell you what happened there. That's where the decline started. And boy, it's it's really unnerving when you hear what happened. It's like, honestly, it's just like a horror film. And yeah, okay. So next time I'm going to talk about what happened with his mind. Yeah, very, 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 uh, very scary. Yeah. Okay.